In its normal state, the human stomach is a highly efficient muscular mixing chamber. It uses powerful, rhythmic contractions to break down food and perfectly regulate its flow into the lower digestive tract. But when a chronic peptic ulcer develops, that smooth operation breaks down. An ulcer in this environment is a site of active, continuous warfare, a localized loop of aggressive acid damage followed by the body's desperate attempts at repair. This relentless repair cycle triggers a process called cicatrization. Over time, instead of laying down flexible, healthy tissue, the body patches the wound with thick, rigid layers of scar tissue. That biological patch has a fatal flaw. It cannot stretch. As the scar tissue matures, it slowly contracts, acting like a tightening corset that physically pulls, pinches, and twists the surrounding organ. The stomach's own healing mechanism eventually destroys its architecture. This creates a state of chronic stenosis, a severe structural warping that forces the organ into one of three life-threatening deformities. The first deformity targets the stomach's exit valve, the pylorus. A persistent ulcer, either in the duodenum, just past the valve, or right on the valve itself, creates a dense web of scarring. As the scar contracts, it chokes the exit shut. The stomach balloons outward, becoming a massive reservoir hoarding stagnant food. Fighting the blockage, the organ generates intense peristaltic waves. On thin patients, these muscular ripples are visibly seen passing across the abdomen. Inside, retained fluid and gas build up so significantly that gently shaking the patient produces a distinct sloshing sound, clinically known as a succussion splash. Eventually, the internal pressure exceeds the stomach's capacity. The only release is copious projectile vomiting, often occurring in the evening and expelling foul, undigested particulate matter eaten days earlier. For a patient with a completely sealed exit valve, this violent purging provides their only immediate relief from the crushing mechanical pressure. The second deformity happens when a saddle-shaped ulcer forms higher up, on the inner curve of the stomach, known as the lesser curvature. Here, contracting scar tissue acts like a tightening belt, pinching the organ in half to create an upper and lower chamber. This is the hourglass stomach. The extreme constriction leaves a connecting channel barely wide enough to pass a single object, measuring just 5 millimeters across. Because this blockage sits in the middle of the organ rather than at the exit, vomiting fails to clear the obstruction. The lower chamber remains completely choked off. The hourglass deformity traps the patient. The pressure cannot be relieved, resulting in continuous, unlimiting pain and weight loss without any mechanical escape. The final structural failure is caused by a long-standing ulcer that vertically shrinks the inner curve of the stomach over time. This longitudinal shortening warps the organ's axis. The pyloric exit is dragged sharply upward, leaving the bottom hanging as a massive pouch resembling a teapot. Gravity takes over. Food and liquids fall directly into this deep trap, pooling where they cannot climb back out. Even though the exit valve remains wide open, the warped geometry causes complete stagnation. The patient experiences the exact same bloating, weight loss, and vomiting seen in a blocked exit, caused entirely by the stomach's distorted new shape. Across all three of these deformities, the constant retention of food and relentless vomiting triggers an unseen systemic catastrophe. The body rapidly depletes its reserves of hydrogen, chloride, and potassium. This massive loss of stomach acid creates hypochloremic alkalosis, a severe, dangerous imbalance in the blood's acid-base chemistry, compounded by a critical deficiency in circulating potassium. Immediate hospital survival requires a two-front intervention. Doctors pump in saline and potassium chloride intravenously to correct the blood chemistry, while threading a large-bore Ewald tube down the throat to mechanically decompress the swan's stomach over several days. But decompression only stabilizes the patient. Biological scar tissue cannot unscar itself, meaning the warped architecture of the stomach is permanent. The only definitive cure is extreme structural reconstruction. Surgeons must intervene directly. They will either construct a bypass route, a gastrojejunostomy, to route food completely around the heavily scarred blockage, or they will perform a gastrectomy, literally amputating the constricted chambers and reattaching the remaining organ. An untreated chronic peptic ulcer causes a slow-motion architectural collapse of the digestive system. The body's own localized healing mechanism turns against it, warping the stomach until aggressive surgical engineering is the only remaining option to restore the flow of life. A patient suddenly feels faint, their blood pressure plummets. Moments later, they experience hematemesis, vomiting blood, or pass black, tarry stool known as melena. This is a severe internal bleed, and the patient is crashing rapidly. The source of this crisis is a peptic ulcer. Located in either the stomach or the duodenum, this lesion has eroded directly through the gastrointestinal wall and breached a major blood vessel, often the gastroduodenal artery. These acute lesions can form in a matter of days. They are frequently triggered by severe physical stress or the ingestion of pharmacological catalysts, particularly nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, or NSAIDs, like common aspirin. An ulcer has eaten its way into the circulatory system. Normal physiological defenses have failed, leaving a high-pressure artery venting directly into the digestive tract. Curious tone. When you cut your finger, your body naturally constricts the vessel and forms a clot to stop the bleeding. So why does this specific type of internal hemorrhage refuse to stop on its own? Chronic ulcers create a hostile environment for natural healing. At the base of the ulcer, extensive fibrosis forms. This dense scar tissue acts like rigid cement, physically trapping the severed blood vessel and preventing it from retracting inward to seal itself off. A second mechanical failure occurs through lateral erosion. Instead of slicing clean across the artery, the ulcer burns a hole directly into its side. The natural tension of the arterial wall pulls that hole wide open, making it physically impossible for the vessel ends to contract and close the gap. Because natural hemostasis has mechanically failed, continuous blood loss drives the patient toward hypovolemic shock, a life-threatening drop in blood volume. To save them, the medical team must initiate an escalating artificial intervention protocol. Initial management focuses on stabilizing the patient's circulatory system. Clinicians order absolute bed rest and precise sedation to prevent vomiting, which would otherwise risk triggering fresh bleeding at the ulcer site. The immediate priority is replacing the lost intravascular volume before the patient bleeds out. Clinicians rapidly infuse intravenous fluids and begin transfusing cross-matched blood to keep the circulatory system functioning. During this phase, the medical team implements stringent monitoring. By measuring central venous pressure, they accurately gauge exactly how much fluid the patient needs to maintain stable blood pressure without overloading the system. Conservative management acts as a stalling tactic. It buys the physiological stability and the time necessary for the medical team to launch a targeted counterattack. Once stable, the protocol shifts to Phase 2, active targeting. A physician feeds a fiber optic endoscope down the digestive tract to visually locate the exact source of the hemorrhage. The scope navigates the interior of the stomach. If blood is seen flowing back through the pyloric valve, the team tracks it directly into the duodenum. It is a search and destroy mission to pinpoint the specific bleeding site. Upon locating the ruptured vessel, the endoscope deploys artificial hemostasis tools. The physician might inject a chemical sclerosant, like adrenaline, or use dithermy, heater probes, and targeted lasers to physically weld the vessel shut. By directly sealing the breach, the endoscopic tools successfully override the anatomical failure of the ulcer. They step in to do exactly what the body's broken clotting mechanism could not. Even with successful stabilization, the patient enters a high-risk 48-hour window. If a definitive decision is delayed past this time frame, the mortality rate rises sharply. The medical team watches for specific failure thresholds, indicating that conservative and endoscopic measures are failing. These triggers include requiring 5 or more units of blood, a patient age of over 45, or the sudden onset of recurrent hemorrhage. Crossing any of these lines instantly terminates the observation period. The protocol forces mandatory escalation away from minimally invasive repair, straight to blunt force surgical intervention. When the 48-hour window closes without stability, surgery becomes the obligatory mechanical fix. The surgical team opens the gastrointestinal tract to access the ulcer directly. They manually force the bleeding vessel closed using a technique called underrunning, suturing the tissue tightly around the breach. To prevent the ulcer from returning, the team also addresses the root cause of the stomach acid. They perform a vagotomy, cutting the vagus nerve to reduce acid secretion, often alongside a pylooplasty, which widens the stomach's exit to improve drainage. In extreme scenarios, the surgeon may find that mucosal erosions are too widespread to suture individually. When that happens, the remaining option is a partial gastrectomy, physically removing a portion of the stomach entirely. When localized treatments and natural physiological defenses completely collapse, direct surgery serves as the ultimate mechanical override to keep the patient alive. A bleeding peptic ulcer is a catastrophic structural failure of the vascular system, driven by severe fibrosis and lateral tissue erosion. Surviving it relies entirely on a modern medical team executing a rigid, escalating timeline, moving rapidly from physiological stabilization to precise endoscopic repair, and finally to definitive surgical salvage.